So cosine law is also used when you have oblique triangles. Okay, so that means when you have triangles that's not 90 degrees. All right. Now cosine law, there's two cases that you can use cosine law. Case number one is if you have two sides and the angle between them. Okay, so two sides, and we call that the contained angle. Okay, if you don't have that, if you don't have this, you can't use the cosine. Okay, so you have to have two sides and the angle between these two sides. In this case, you'll be looking for, you'll be finding the side across from the contained angle. Okay, so the question will be asking you to solve for this side, right? And you can use cosine. Okay, cosine law has partially some of the Pythagorean theorem added and some stuff added to it. Okay, so for cosine law, you will have the formulas. Remember that on any or any assignments or anything like that, you will have the formula booklet, right? And then you'll have all the formulas for SOHCAHTOA, Pythagorean theorem, and sine law, cosine law with all versions of it. So for the cosine law, there's three different versions. They're exactly the same. They're just written with if you're looking for side A, if you're looking for side B, if you're looking for side C. Okay? So if you're looking for, if you have angle A here, and you have angle B here, and angle C here, right? So that means this is B, this is C, and this is A, right? So in this case, you're looking for side A. You know side B and C, and you know angle A, right? So the formula would be A squared equal to B squared plus C squared minus 2 times BC times cosine A. Okay? So I know A, I know B, I know C, I know B, I know C, and I know the angle A. The only thing is, at the end, you have to take the square root of this because you're finding A. Okay? Another thing is in the calculator, you have to do either all of it at the same time, or you have to do the B squared by itself, and then write the answer, C squared by itself, write the answer, and you have to do this whole thing all together, write the answer. Because a lot of time what students do, they forget about BEDMAS, and then they start adding the 2BC and the C squared or subtracting them, and then not multiply by cosine. So it's a whole mess. So most of the mistakes that I've seen on the test is that students don't know how to enter it in the calculator properly. Okay? So you either put it all together at once, or you find B squared, you find C squared, you find 2BC equals 8 all together, then you do the subtraction and addition. Okay? Now, if I'm looking for side B, which two sides I should be given? A and C. Right? So how would my formula be? So I'm looking for B. B squared equals 2 cosine B. So you see always whatever side you're looking for and the angle, they're matching. Okay? You don't have to memorize them, it's fun to come up with a formula. How about if I'm looking for side C? Which two sides would I know? A and B. So it's going to be A squared So in this case, I have two sides and the angle between them. I'm looking for the third side. Clear? I told you there's only two cases to use a cosine law. The second case, if you are given all three sides. Okay? So if you're given all three sides, that means you have to look for a angle. That's your only option, right? So let's say this is angle A, this is B, this is C, right? And I'm looking for angle A. I don't know what angle A is, I'm looking for that. So the formula is, basically, this formula is a rearrangement of this formula, of the first formula that you've seen there, okay? So what they did is they moved everything around and then they divided, okay? So again, you don't have to memorize these formulas, they'll be given to you, you don't have to worry about it, you just have to pick the formula that you're gonna use. So, cosine A equals to B squared plus C squared minus A squared divided by, that should say 2BC, not ABC. So that should say right here, exactly, that should say 2. Divided by 2BC. Now, when you do this, it's very important that when you enter it in the calculator, you find your numerator first, write it down, then find your denominator, write it down, and do your division. Unless you can enter it properly in the calculator, if you have that special button that gives you, okay, enter whatever you want on the top, and then they give you the fraction and enter whatever you want on the bottom, okay? I only know one calculator here, I don't know, I have to, probably yours would do it, I have to check. But I would highly recommend, find the numerator, write it down, find the denominator, write it down, and do your division. Otherwise, if you don't do it properly, your calculator is going to mess you up, and you're going to get the wrong answer. Okay, let's come up, what would the formula be if I'm looking for angle B? A squared. Good. So remember the last letter right here is going to correspond to the angle. And cosine C is A squared plus B squared minus C squared over 2.
Could you have started with B squared plus A squared minus C squared?
B squared plus A squared minus C squared? Yeah. You can't start with a C because that's A.
So, why is this one different in the bottom? Is AC as opposed to BC?
Because you know because it's this, right? It's always this. Because look right here, you have 2AC, right? So when you bring it over, it's going to be divided by 2AC. Okay? In this case, if you bring this 2AB, it's going to be divided by 2AB. Now, when you use this formula, do you get the angle right away?
No.
What do you have to do to get the angle? Cos inverse, because that's going to give you cos C. To find angle C, you have to do the cos inverse. Are we okay with that? We'll look at examples. So your answer should be a decimal point something, 0 point something, and then you have to do cos inverse. So, as I explained earlier, in order to use a cosine law, you know two sides. And it's very important that it's the contained angle. So it's side, angle, side. And then you know all three sides. Are we okay with this? All right. Let's go to the questions. So what scenario do I have here?
All three angles, all three sides.
All three sides, so I'm looking to find angle C. So let's name the sides. So C, D, B. Okay, what was my formula? Cosine
Cosine C
equals
D squared
D squared
plus D squared
plus B squared
minus C
minus C squared
over 2A up to
B. Okay. So see how you start coming up with the formulas, because sometimes the letters are going to be different than what you're used to. Okay, so you have to be able to come up with these formulas. So all what you have to do is plug in the information. So D is 500 squared plus 650 squared minus 750 squared all over 2 times 500 times 650. So what I want you to do is I want you to find the answer for the top.
You mind to try? Yes.
No, there should be a
Well, you can use this So what do you get for the top? 110,000. Okay, what do you get for the bottom?
650,000.
Okay. Now divide the two. So when you divide the two, what do you get? 0.1692. Okay? Now if you want to find angle C, what do you have to do?
Cosine inverse.
Yeah. And then what was it? 18? 80. See how sometimes you have to be a little patient with the math, so this
It's
way you don't enter it
It's not
incorrectly.
0, it's 1.69. Not
It
zero.
can't be 1.69.
That's what that mathematical.
110,000 divided by 650,000.
Yeah.
Oh, whoops.
So, and here, are you guys okay with this? Can I move on to the next question?
Yeah.
Okay, I will come and help you with the calculator after. Okay, let's just get that question done and then I can come back. Okay? So, an air traffic controller at T is tracking two airplanes, U and V, flying at the same altitude. How far apart are the planes? So, this is the air traffic controller, and these are the two airplanes. And the question is asking how far are the two airplanes from each other. So I'm looking for what side? T. Good. Now what kind of information do I know? So what is my contained angle?
75.
75 minus 23.
75 minus 23. I'll talk about that in a second. I have the two sides. I have TU, so I have the distance from the traffic controller to the airplane U, and I have the from T to V, right? From traffic to the airplane V. Now the contained angle is this. You guys agree? So this is the contained angle right here, without the outside part. So it's just this, right? I don't know what this is. I know what this whole thing is, which is 75. But I know also that this is 23. So to find the contained angle, what do I do?
So why don't we the 23 apply?
So 23 is the angle from, they always measure bearing from the north. Okay, so when you're doing like any measurements, like if you're the traffic control person, you always measure it from the north. Okay, so your north is your y-axis in the positive, right? So the angle between the bearing of U is 23 degrees. Okay, the bearing of angle V is 75 degrees. It's always measured from the north. Okay, if you want to know how wide is the difference in angle between U and V, you have to do the subtraction. Okay? So in order to find what this is, what this angle is, you have to do the whole thing, which is 75, and take away the 23 from it. You guys okay with this? Are we okay with this? Now, I have two sides and the contained angle. So what formula do I use?
This line is like T. V square plus U square minus 2V U cos T.
Okay, so that's right. So let's call this V, and this is going to be U. I'm looking for side T, right? So I'm going to start with T squared, correct? Equals to what? V squared, U squared,
minus
2VU cos T. Yeah? It's always going to be like that. Whatever you have, the V and the U is going to be minus 2VU cos whatever the angle is. Let's look at the information. What is V squared? 10.7 squared plus 15.3 squared minus 2 times 10.7 times 15.3 times cosine 52. So what I want you to do right now, I want you to try different things, whatever you're comfortable with. Some calculators, most of your calculators, if I'm looking right now, most of them are straightforward, so you can put it all together. If you're not comfortable with that, you can do the 10.7 squared by itself, do the 15.3 squared by itself, and do the 2 times whatever times 10.7 times 15.3 equals 52, and then find the answer here. Just 1 second, I'll come back. I have to do this.